The question is, do you stop thinking when you enter flow state? This is a question that I'm going to answer today. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, what's going on? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy. I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today, I'm doing a one-day shamanic reset at my new crib. Essentially, I use this place as a kind of like a weekend getaway. I know it's a Monday, however, I take Mondays off sometimes. Just out here, you see the amazing nature, the scenery out there. You know, living like a shaman, spending today in my internal world, but I still had to make some content for you guys and kind of like feel like Count Dracula with this kind of gothic architecture. Kind of like it. But yeah, man, Aqua, to answer your question, man, you were asking me about, you know, when I'm kickboxing, I was thinking a lot. And is it flow state not thinking? Like, right, is it no mind? You know, what's up with that is basically your question. So the first thing to understand is, man, you got to understand the flow cycle, okay? The flow cycle states that it starts from struggle phase, then release, then flow, then rest, then back to struggle again. So what I was doing in kickboxing is I was still in struggle phase. I was still in a beta brainwave consciousness, which means I was in a waking consciousness in that time, where I was correcting my form, where I was making sure everything was okay. But then after a while, you start to let go of that. That's the release phase. As you start to let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, then you enter the flow, okay? Hope that makes sense. Also, it's important to understand this not only neurochemically, but also neuroscience-wise. Neuroscience-wise, we understand that flow state is called transient hypofrontality, which means what? It means your prefrontal cortex basically slows down, okay? It doesn't shut down completely, but it slows down enough where you have less inhibition. Again, this is for goal-oriented decision-making, judgment. Interestingly enough, it also relates to our intuition. So there's some nuances here, right? I think if you're just correlating flow state to intuition, it's definitely not that. If you're interested in the science, it gets a lot more complicated. So essentially what's happening in a flow state is when your brain is going from a beta brainwave to an alpha brainwave, your brain is now dealing with the free flow of information. So one is the information processing, and one is consolidating the free flow of whatever is happening. It's almost what we access in freestyle, or just letting go and thinking of spontaneous ways to access this state. So it becomes a state of relaxed awareness. When you're shooting, right, of course you gotta start out with that basic structure, knowing the form, knowing, okay, the back foot is right here, and then just drilling until you get to this state where you can slowly start to let go. And as you slowly start to let go, then you're tapping into the flow, okay? So there is a process to flow state. Also think about like learning a musical instrument, right? You gotta first know the musical instrument, and then you can improvise and play the musical instrument. So you got to get so familiar with that basketball, man, that it's just a part of you at this point, right? That's when you're gonna start flowing. That's when it's gonna start becoming intuitive or second nature in that sense, okay? But first you gotta get acquainted to the form, to the structure, to everything, and then you can play. Thought I would shoot these basketball tips out here. So when you're practicing, when you're rehearsing, when you're playing basketball, okay? I wanna give you 3 tips that you can practice right away, okay? The first tip is visualization. As you're in the locker room or right before you're about to step into the court, you want to be visualizing hitting the dunks, hitting that basket, hearing the crowd cheering, hearing what you want to hear, seeing what you want to see, feeling what you want to feel, okay, through your visualization. And it's important that you almost do this visualization with music if that inspires you. For certain people, accessing flow state through music is incredible. For other players, sometimes they need to be in silence to let their mind kind of do its thing, okay? So if you like music, go for it. Put your headphones in, lock in, you know, really listen to some pumped up, you know, songs. Somebody once, no, not that song. Definitely not Smash Mouth. Some NBA all-star soundtracks, like for video games. Those soundtracks are always nice to play. Let me see here. Last tip would be to warm up and get yourself loose. Get yourself loose and limber in your own body. So your mind is loose, your body is loose. Now, as the referee hits the bell, you're ready to flow, okay? You're ready to tap into the zone, as you'd say in basketball, right? To perfect your shooting form, you just need the prep beforehand, right? The visualization is really gonna help. Just imagine and visualize and really feel yourself getting it into the basket over and over and over again. And almost have it like a loop in your mind. I'd also highly recommend you listen to some basketball subliminal messages, things like this. That would really help you program your subconscious mind so you can become one of the top players, and because that is your goal. So do that long term. Alpha brainwave creates fewer but also deeper neural connections. So a good way to know that you're going into an alpha brainwave is when you're getting more blood flow, okay, nitric oxide. You want to balance out the parasympathetic and sympathetic brain system, okay? So this whole process is happening as you're in flow state, right? You're going from beta to alpha theta, back to alpha, maybe beta, and then back to alpha, and then alpha theta. And so this is happening as you're gaming or doing sports or whatever you're doing. Right? Another thing that we must note is that flow state is a mental state, which means that it requires some form of using the mind, using the thoughts. We don't want to overthink. That's when it's really blocking us, right? We don't want to overthink about stuff. We don't want to micromanage everything, but we do want to correct the fundamentals, the foundations. We want to make sure of those. This is why, you know, a beginner has to start off somewhere. So another thing you said, which I think was very interesting to know, is flow is effortless. Yes, flow is effortless, but how do you think someone gets to that effortlessness? Practice, effort, right? It's only through the effort that you get into effortlessness, because after a while, right, it just seems normal. It's like what is true to you is a profound revelation to everybody else who isn't a master in that field. So let's say you become like a master at basketball. You getting a three-pointer is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be unconscious. It's going to be a part of your personality in a sense to score. Someone who's been drilling for a really long time, right? They have more of a likelihood to get into flow state. I believe I heard this quote that greatness is doing something extremely difficult as if it's something really simple or with a lot of ease, right? That is kind of the understanding of flow state is, hey, when you're at your greatest peak potential, it is going to look effortless to the outside world, right? Like, let's say the example of like a ballet performance. You know how many times they have to drill those movements? Countless number of times, right? They stubbed their toe probably trying it, right? They got some, you know, soreness in their muscles the next day. We don't see all of that, right? When it's game time in basketball, we just see the performance of the players. We don't know what they're doing in rehearsal or what they're doing behind the scenes. We can't really see somebody's involvement in flow, right? Because it is a subjective experience for everybody, right? And you've got to find a way to understand your internal world. This is why I tell people to value meditation, value mindfulness, value diving deeper into your own sense of beingness, because that's what's going to help you tap in. Thinking about it is just level 1. Then you're letting go of the thinking and you're focusing on doing and being. It also depends, I'm going to say this. Everybody has a different kind of flow profile, okay? If you go to flowgenomeproject.com, you will understand that there's something called a flow profile. A flow profile is a different type of flow personality type, okay? So some people have more flow propensity in a different way. So someone who's a hard charger might be very athletic and they get their flow like that. However, for somebody else, a lot more intellectual, they can actually get into flow state through their mentality, through their mind, through their thinking. And that's a deep thinker, okay? My flow profile is a deep thinker. So I access flow through thinking, okay? That's why I can think about concepts analytically, make videos like this, talk for hours about this topic, right? Because that's how I access flow. For somebody else, you know, they might be a flow goer and their pathway is the yoga mat. Now, sometimes I will access flow through bioenergetics or yoga or flow training or, you know, calisthenics, whatever it is. However, that's not my main go-to. So everybody has like a main go-to, I would say. And again, these are percentages, right? However, I would just do that quiz, you know, figure it out. What is your flow profile? I can even link it below in the comments. Figure that out because that's really going to help you. Also, understanding your top strengths is really important. Knowing and how to activate your greatest strength will tap you into the flow immensely, because flow state is all about amplifying your strengths, right? Getting you to your peak potential, right? Your most evolved Pokemon mega evolution form is your flow state, is your ultra instinct, is your sage mode, whatever you want to call it, man. But essentially, it's you feeling your best and performing at your best. So as long as you're doing that, you're tapping in. You know where your blind spots are. You know where your weaknesses are. Let's say it's dribbling. And you know that you can't really dribble under your legs that well. Spend some time perfecting that and just keep drilling that for like a week or 2. Then as that becomes more competent, you want your challenge and skills to match up, right? So as you become more competent at a specific skill set, then it's going to be much more hardwired, much more natural to you. So once you really understand this process, it'll be a lot easier to tap in and be like water, my friend, right? If you want Bruce Lee level flow state, guess what? Bruce Lee was an adept. He was completely committed towards mastery. But it's not like Bruce Lee never thought, right? Mushin, or mind of no mind. You can't access no mind all the time, right? You can't live in no mind. That's kind of weird, man. Thoughts are going to come in. If you have an ego, you have thoughts. It's just that simple, right? Some of my clients who have issues with, you know, compulsion or obsession, or where they have thoughts coming in, intrusive thinking, you know, they can't stop those thoughts. If they try to barricade and stop them, they're repressing them and suppressing those thoughts, right? And they're not free-flowing, actually. So the key here is to learn how to be with them. If you have a song stuck in your head, you got to play that song and then play another song right after it, right? You can't avoid listening to the song. That song's going to keep being stuck in your head. So that's the thing, man. We can't stop our thoughts, okay? All we can do is get out of the way and let the thoughts do what they need to do, but still remaining a witness, remaining an observer, remaining aware and mindful of our own body, of our own minds, of our own presence. And we can just bring our attention back to the present moment. Well, that's what you want to be doing. Bring your attention back to the present moment, okay? Don't get trapped in the past or the future. This is when you're tapping into flow. When you are in presence, in real time. Yeah, man, that would be the video. I hope I explained this to you and that you understand it. If not, you know, I'll clarify it further. But irregardless, if you have any other questions about this, feel free to shoot me a message. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it to the upward spiral, gang. You better hit that subscribe button, baby. Let's get it. Boom.